Welcome to the exercise of the week, and this week I want to cover what's called the half kneeling chop and lift. So when we think about the human body, there's this interesting relationship between stability and mobility. Stability is how can I stabilize or control a joint, prevent it from moving in unnecessary ways, while mobility is being able to move a joint or a series of joints throughout their range of motion. With the half kneeling chop and lift, we're getting a mix of both. We're getting lower body stability, core stability, hip stability, ankle stability, while working on upper body and shoulder mobility, right? So we want to make sure if we don't have good stability from the lower half down, it's really hard for us to actually move through this range of motion. So we need stability to create mobility, and that's what's important throughout the human body, is that relationship between stability and mobility, because they work together as opposed to being two separate things that happen on their own. They happen in unison. One matters and affects the other, okay? So when it comes to the half kneeling chop and lift, half kneeling position, first and foremost, is simply just this lunge position on the floor, half kneeling, right? Instead of tall kneeling or kneeling, I'm kneeling on one knee, so half kneeling. And then what I want to really make sure as I'm in this position is I am in good alignment. Knee, hip, up, ankle, knee, hip. So good alignment of both limbs. I'm going to try to engage from the hips. Exhale, rib cage down, engage the core. And I'm trying to stabilize from my lower half down. Now, as I, in a second, will lift up that weight, I'm going to stabilize my lower half as I move through this chop and lift pattern. Chop and lift pattern is this diagonal movement pattern. I always think of what knee is down when I figure out, okay, which direction I need to go. I see a lot of people doing this backwards, right? Going from low to high over their leg. And in reality, what we want to do is start from the low side. So my right knee is down. I'm going to start low on my right side, and I'm going to go high over my left side. I only want to rotate as far as my body will allow me to. So if I go too far, you'll see I'm starting to really kind of twist and torque, and I'm losing stability and control. I'm going as far as my range of motion will allow me. So if that means I'm only going to here and then back down, that's it, right? I don't want to go further just for the sake of getting more motion. I want to go as far as my body will control me and allow me to stay in that position. So what we would do is we would hold the weight. This is just a 5-pound plate. I usually tell people anywhere from 5 to 15 pounds really is usually a good starting point. We don't want to go much heavier than that because it becomes this really hard shoulder exercise. We want a nice relaxed upper body, stable hips, stable core, stable ankle, good alignment of the legs. And then from here, as I go through this rotational pattern. So a lot of people I see these days are pretty tight and stiff throughout their spines. So this is going to help us develop stability from the lower half down, great from a running standpoint, but also work on mobility and strength from the spine and the shoulders. You can see my eyes are always fixed right in the center of my weight. I don't want my weight to move one way and my eyes and head are staying this way. I want my whole upper body to move as a unit as I go from that low to high movement pattern. And that's the same thing I would do on both sides, right? Find my base first, ankle under knee, back knee under hip, hips engaged, cores engaged, rib cage down, engage in the core, and then I can slowly move through that range of motion. And you can see on this one, I don't have shoes on because it really matters how well where our foot is contacting with the ground here. That's the majority of our stability, right? Our appreciation of our body in space. A lot of that comes from the bottom of the foot, the hands, right? There's a lot of sensory receptors here that tell us how we're positioned. So I really like to use the foot, connect the foot with the ground, feel that, and then I can feel as I start to lose my position, okay, that foot's rolling. I know I'm going that way. I'm collapsing in. I'm going this way. I can use that feedback from the foot to really help position the body. So core engaged, glutes engaged, feeling the foot in contact with the ground. Nice, slow, low to high pattern, rotational pattern throughout the spine. Trying to make sure at all times I don't lose stability throughout the hips or the core, and I'm just controlling and stabilizing my body. Once that becomes easy, you can elevate the back leg. Obviously here now strength really matters because now we're having to stabilize and hold strong in this elevated position. A lot more shaky, right? Balance, but I also have to hold myself at the lowest point of this lunge. So that's a way you could actually make this harder if you wanted. The elevated half kneeling chop and lift from that low position up and over. Everything has to work twice as hard. It's a lot more demanding. I definitely recommend on this one, start with the lightweight. focus on how well can you stabilize, really secure your body and be solid in that lunge position. Hips, core, foot, all of that has to stabilize to really feel connected and grounded, and then go through your motion. So working on different things, but I think understanding that relationship between stability and mobility. If I don't have stability of my lower half, I cannot move and be mobile in my upper half. This matters to different areas of the body, the ankle and the knee, right? Ankle mobility for knee stability, right? There's a lot of different relationships we have throughout the body. So understanding that mobility and stability need to be trained to some degree in unison, they're not two separate entities, is very important. When you complete this exercise, I would say 2 to 3 sets of anywhere from 6 to 12 repetitions. It's better to go slow. It's better to work on stability and control than to do more repetitions or heavier weight. So really control it and own the movement, and then progress on from there. So that's the half kneeling chop and lift. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment below, leave some feedback if you tried that exercise before. Let me know how you do this with this one on your own. Surprisingly challenging and tricky exercise at first. Are you all over the place? Are you secured? How's your range of motion and mobility? Are you tighter, more restricted than you thought you were? Drop some feedback below, and I hope you guys have a great week.